if we leave this up to farmers to fix, it's not going to happen. This is not something that you can say, well, I'll just wait for them to figure it out and then I'll just buy coffee off the commercial market if that's what's necessary. This is not something to, be passive in. Would you guys agree? Great. They're nodding again. They're nodding and saying nothing again.
It's not for a lack of want from farmers. Let that be clear. It's not from a lack of want. It's not from a lack of education that they don't know that climate change is going to affect their crop. They're worried about this. But as we see in the coffee industry, it's not that necessarily these high coffee prices are directly going straight to the farmers. Yeah. So in order to have this transition, there's going to need to be support.
Mappa Forward is bringing a new perspective to the Japanese coffee industry with Mappa Forward Japan. Every 2 weeks, we're highlighting a selected series from the Daily Coffee Pro by Mappa Forward, translated and available in Japanese on our YouTube channel. Follow along on our new Instagram account, Mappa Forward Japan, where we'll share industry commentary, episode clips, and market updates all in Japanese. And if you're in the Japanese coffee industry, join our mailing list for updates and exclusive content also in Japanese. All the details are at mappaforward.coffee/Japan, and we'd love you to share this information with your Japanese friends in the coffee industry. Check the show notes for details. Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Mappa Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is unfortunately the final episode of what has been an absolutely delightful series. With Maddie and Lucie and Gabi, we are talking about what does success look like for resilient coffee farming. And these three scientists are a part of the future of what that's going to look like for the coffee industry. They, in a few months, if I understand it correct, ladies, you will have finished your research. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Excellent. And then there's some exciting stuff coming. That's all we'll say. But, watch out for these ladies. Check the show notes. There will be links. We'll talk about that later in this episode. But specifically in this episode, guys, what we're going to talk about is how do we start conversations around resilient farming across the supply chain? Now, we touched on this in the first episode, but I think that people are stuck right now between I'm starting to understand that this is something that I need to talk about, and the other spectrum of it is I don't like buzzwords, so I'm not going to engage. Right? Who wants to start helping people understand why they should engage in these conversations, even if they have that perspective of like, this is just a woo-woo thing, because these are the kind of things where cults formulate, right? Like there'll be a biochar cult, there'll be a agroforestry cult, there'll be all of these things. But at the end of the day, what we're talking about is growing food so the world can eat and drink coffee. So who wants to start? Who wants to take this? No, they're not nodding. Okay, go ahead, Maddie.
I think we always look to each other like, this is a delicious question. Who wants to jump in?
Sign me up to the agroforestry cult.
Yeah, it's important just in the sense that, like you said, we all really like coffee. We don't want it to go anywhere. So we would like to secure production. I think starting with maybe not going in and assuming that farmers or people otherwise in the supply chain haven't heard of this. It is a buzzword. And of course, we don't want greenwashing. We don't want just saying things for the sake of saying things. But a lot of farmers, at least in our experience, even if they're not fully organic or doing regenerative practice, they have heard of it and they are interested, but they're just wandering away. And for each person, this will have to be an individual journey forward, right? Everyone's going to have different circumstances monetarily, but also something as simple as what does your soil look like and what is your slope and where are you in elevation? So having a really frank conversation where you look at the reality of individuals, I think will be really helpful.
You mentioned a really interesting word there, journey. This is not a quick fix, right? This is not this is going to be a journey for people, whether you're the farmer or whether you're the buyer and the roaster. But if you're a farmer that's listening to this and you realize that you have to start this journey, who is the person that they start that conversation with? Even we know it's about the soil, right? That's where the conversation needs to start with. Who do they go to? Do they go to an agronomist? Do they go to a neighboring farmer? Do they go to a lab and say, I don't know how to get my soil tested? Go ahead, Lucie. I could see you jumping out of your skin to answer this one. Go for it.
Yeah, you're getting it on Bob, because it's a community and we're not to do this alone.
Yeah.
So I love that you mentioned the neighboring farm, because that's really important. It's really important to come together and to create like this tapestry, or to bring all these people on this journey with you. That's key.
Yeah. And if somebody, let's say a group of farmers have decided that, they've gone 2 years now with really low yields and something has to change. But they don't know how to do this. There's not a lot of information that's available in a lot of different languages. Most of it's available in English. Who's the person they should start with? Where should they start this research or these conversations, do you think?
I think there's good and bad resources. There are many resources out there. There, at least in Brazil, I know in Colombia, there are many networks of farmers, group chats, online platforms, also cooperatives, technical assistance. Like from what we saw in Brazil, no farmer is working alone.
Great.
They're supported by some sort of institution, some sort of cooperative. They have support. It is just the challenge is if that support is what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So the networks are there, is just to receive the right information.
And to be inspired by the right people too. I think we've spoken a lot in this series about challenges that we've seen and struggles, but we've also encountered so many really inspirational places and places that are moving forward and breaking boundaries and like developing their system and also their place within the coffee sector, and surrounding yourself with people who have a dream and a vision and being inspired by others is fundamental to this journey. And to keep up that positivity, because there are really, really great examples out there. There are people who are changing the world daily in their small coffee pots. And it's about connecting all of this and continuing to be inspired by it.
Go ahead, Maddie.
Yeah. And just to add to that, really just building on your network. If people want concrete examples, there's people doing really cool stuff. And a lot of these people are really open to other farmers messaging them and saying, hey, can I come see what you're doing? What were your challenges? I know a lot of cooperatives also, they do have agronomists that you can go to for help. One of the challenges might be that maybe these agronomists, there's not enough funding. So they have a really large client base and they can't give that much time to each individual farmer. So relying on your agronomist, relying on information from universities and researchers, but then also, having your community to kind of support that information and support what you're hearing from science, and then really root it in the local context. I think that combination of things will be helpful.
Yeah, and we have a WhatsApp group. Go ahead, Lucie.
Buyer.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was thinking, if you're like from the other side, if you're like a buyer or a producer or a consumer or somebody in the sector who wants to have coffee from these kind of systems, it's about motivating, like say if you're a buyer and you're buying from like 50 farms around you to put together a container to export. It's about sharing with all these farmers about what you're seeing and continuing to inspire, like to show and to demonstrate that inspiration and to be a leader in it, because we need leaders. We need like community leaders in these sections to keep that motivation going.
We have a WhatsApp group for people who have done the Introduction to Regenerative Coffee Farming workshop. And there's, 100 people in that WhatsApp group. And they span from people who are farmers all the way through to roasters. And one question that I'm seeing pop up a lot is people saying, does anybody know any coffee producer from Rwanda that's got regenerative coffee? Or does anybody know, people who have great regenerative coffee in Brazil? So we are starting to see people request specifically regenerative. And that is, when I see people doing that, I'm like, these are people who are future-proofing their businesses.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to see that we have early adopters of people who realize, like, this is not going away. We're not fixing this problem. Do you guys think that solving this problem is not guaranteed? Let's just put that out there. This is not a guaranteed thing that we're going to be able to solve. But how do we start conversations between buyers and producers? Let's say for those buyers who have no idea where to find regenerative farmers.
I think here science is a very nice bridge between producers and buyers, because instead of scientists being more middlemen, they're really trying to communicate what's scientifically proven, what's happening in the field, in a more tangible manner. Let's say more commercial, but so, and for us, this has been a very inspiring journey in Brazil to be able to start doing this, to communicate what we're testing in the field, how our relationship with the farmers are to the buyers. And I think this is the future of agroecological research and also science, when you're not just in a lab or writing a publishing a paper, but you're actually working with all the stakeholders in society.
I think we should let our listeners know that the journey we've had this year has been really in depth. As we said in the introduction, we came from different backgrounds. I worked in sales and marketing with coffee. We've had baristas, we've had different aspects of industry, farmer networking, all these things. And then this year, we handpicked 600 kilos of coffee for our research. We turned it on the patio every 2 hours. We linked up with cooperatives. We met buyers. We did industry visits. We cupped all our samples. We were picking leaves off trees, doing water analysis, doing soil testing. We've been really hands-on in so many of the different elements of this supply chain. And I think that's been a really valuable part for us as coming from the scientific background, to have all that together and then to be able to communicate our findings and communicate this, what's happening in the field and what's happening in industry, having these bridges. And that's really, I think, important in this conversation of people understanding everything,
Yeah, direct partnerships, direct conversations between aspects of the industry.
This isn't going to, if I understand what all of you are saying here, this isn't going to be something that just farmers can fix. Right?
No.
This is a problem at origin, but this is not something that farmers are going to be able to fix. Go ahead, Maddie.
Yeah, at the end of the day, the farmers can do all these things, but they need the support and they need a chain to sell this coffee to. So unless the people at other levels of industry are going to support this and invest in it, but also, maybe change the industry a little bit so that people on the other end understand what's at stake, understand the challenges that farmers are going to, and have more direct conversations with that. It'll then be easier for this transition to happen.
Yeah. And I guess that's something that everybody's going to need to understand, is that if we leave this up to farmers to fix, it's not going to happen. This is not something that you can say, well, I'll just wait for them to figure it out and then I'll just buy coffee off the commercial market if that's what's necessary. This is not something to, be passive in. Would you guys agree? Great. They're nodding again, they're nodding and saying nothing again.
It's not for a lack of want from farmers. Let that be clear. It's not from a lack of want. It's not from a lack of education, that they don't know that climate change is going to affect their crop. They're worried about this. But as we see in the coffee industry, it's not that necessarily these high coffee prices are directly going straight to the farmers.
Yeah.
So in order to have this transition, there's going to need to be support.
Yeah. Gabi, what were you going to say?
Yeah, that's something that we're very looking forward in the next months, is when we finish our research, is to really give back all the results to the farmers.
Yeah.
Because just what Lucie described, that we really followed the whole process from doing a soil test in every plot, collecting, harvesting the coffee, drying it, doing the green bean grading, cupping it, and then also collecting all the management of this past year from every farmer. This really gives a lot of robust results that we're going to be able to communicate back to the farmers. And the other side, it was nice when buyers were coming and they were also trying different coffees, and we were also able to talk directly to them. You like their coffee? This is what the farmer did. These were the practices that the farmer incorporated. So just acting as that bridge is amazing. And well, this wouldn't have been possible without FAF's support, because also FAF is a very unique place, because we got to do everything there. It's not very common that in one farm you get to do the whole process from the
vertically integrated.
They have everything integrated, from the nursery, the coffee nursery, to the planting, to the management, to the harvesting, to the drying, to the green bean grading, roasting, cupping. Like everything is there, so you can grasp the supply chain, which is something that is sometimes very difficult, and that's why so many of the players are so disconnected. But there we were able to look at it in a holistic manner, and that was a very enriching experience.
And as you were saying, Lucie, guys, like, I don't mean to think that this is just three scientists who have come on here to talk to the coffee industry and talk at the coffee industry. These are three women from the coffee industry who happen to be doing science and are continuing to do science in the coffee industry. And that is, in my mind, that's a real asset, right? You understand the industry, you understand how it works, and you are elevating that through the work that you're doing. So I hope that the next time that you come on, that you will be able to talk about the results that you found after you've shared it with the producers, and that you'll be able to tell us some more about the research and the results and where you think that this might be going. I'm privileged to be the first coffee podcast you've been on. I'm really excited about your future. And I wonder, do you think, if you were to think about how guaranteed success is, like from, let's say 1 to 10, 10 being, yes, we're absolutely going to get there, and 1, we're absolutely not going to get there. Today, what do you think the chances of us getting there are? And we're going to keep asking this question every time you come on the podcast so we can get a scale. I'll start with you, Maddie.
Ooh, I think it's a good question, because I don't want to be a pessimist, but I think the challenges are big, and it's going to take a lot of hard work. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I mean,
She's
maybe like a 6.
Oh,
I know
6.
a 5 or a 6, a little bit more optimistic.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of passion. But there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. And I think a lot of the big industry players, there needs to be a mindset shift in the industry, a big one.
Okay.
So that's what I would say.
Gabi, what do you think?
Well, I'm usually a very optimistic person, and I always think we're on the right track, but I would say a 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you downgrade?
No, at 7, because there is a lot to be done, but not in the negative connotation, but more like it's so exciting that there's so many more trees to plant, so much,
right? There's
so much
a lot of
to do.
opportunity still there. We haven't
Exactly. So
exhausted all
much
the
opportunity.
opportunities and the
Exactly.
options. And Lucie,
Yeah, it's a hard one.
it is, right?
It's a hard one. Yeah, I often can be called an idealist, and I'm a dreamer. But I think that's really important, and like that, it's I continue to be inspired and not let when when shit hits the fan,
Yeah.
like not let that be the narrative as well. So yeah, I'm gonna jump with the girl. I'm gonna put myself in as like a 6.5.
Wow. Wow. I'm impressed.
Well-
You guys are inspiring me to be hopeful. There's not a lot about coffee that I'm hopeful about, but this is the one part of coffee that I am hopeful about. That if we can actually work towards this and stop focusing on the things like coffee competitions, et cetera, like the things that are the pretentious elements of our industry, and start attributing energy to the things that are actually going to extend the runway of our industry for all the stakeholders, then I think we have a shot. So I'm still at a 5 because I don't know if but my vote doesn't count here. It's all about you three. Now, final question. And we're going to start where we finished the last round at Lucie. Lucie, when the future version of you comes back and watches this series, what do you hope for her?
There's a quote that I like to kind of keep in my mind as I approach things, and it's a quote by Emma Goldman, and it goes, "If I can't dance, it's not my revolution." And
Oh, I got chills.
yeah, for me, that's about bringing in joy in everything. So in the future, when I come back to talk about this, I hope I continue to be approaching with joy and with dance in my revolution in the way forward with this, because that's what it's about at the end of the day. And
I
coffee
love it.
brings us joy. So
I love it. Gabi, when the future version of you comes back to watch this, what do you hope for her?
Well, I hope my optimistic mind is still there. And very practically, because I'm a very practical person, I would like to have witnessed many transitions, many more transitions, accompany many developments, a lot of progression amongst farmers. In like my career path, I would like to keep doing research and especially with coffee. So yeah, for me, this is just the beginning, and I'm optimistic in that by creating a very strong baseline, we're just gonna have the right tools to keep improving.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Maddie, when the future version of you comes back and watches this, what do you hope for her?
Yeah, I hope that she's really proud. I mean, I think whenever you look back at yourself in the past, you're always like, oh, like how much I've learned since then, how much wiser. And I hope I look back at this as, a midpoint in this journey that, I've done a lot with coffee, but I still want to keep working with it and keep learning the whole time. And I hope a lot of the questions that I still see in research and that we still have on how are things going to go, how will things transition? I hope maybe some of those are answered.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. As I hear you guys answer those questions, I think you're the youngest ones that have come on the podcast and answered those questions. And one thing I was curious about when you did give your questions, I was wondering if you would be the first to say, I hope we made it. Like nobody's come on here, and I'm really proud about this. And I just thought about it for the first time then. It's like nobody's answered that question by saying, I hope I got rich, or I hope I opened like 50 more stores, or, like, and not that I would fault anyone for doing that, but God, it speaks really highly to the guests that come on this podcast that that's not what they're interested in. And you three really inspire me for the future of our industry. The fact that the next generation of business owners is coming in and saying, we're doing the science, we are finding out what we can do, and we are saying we're excited about solving some of these problems. I want you to know that me, as someone who is a hopeful realist, I lean towards realism as a scientist myself. You really inspire me, and I'm very grateful for that, because in a year like 2025, it's really hard to find things, if you're a realist, that can be really inspiring. So as we wrap up, tell everybody where they can get in contact with you, and where they can find you. So we'll start with you, Lucie.
Yeah, I have an Instagram page that's going to be linked in this episode. It's called Reid's Rambles and Roasts.
I love that.
Yeah. And yeah, just following my journey with coffee, but also my travels and what I'm learning from this world around us.
Amazing. Gabi?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. I have my personal account, Gabriela Copello, and there I post about everything that I am interested in, all the intersections that have been in my life. And yeah,
Perfect.
you can find me.
Maddie?
Yeah, similar to the girls, you can find me on LinkedIn under Madeline Stuart, or I also have an Instagram page, coffee themed, but also just farm themed, called Maddie's Field Notes.
Amazing. And we'll link into everything in the show notes. So if you're interested in figuring out what's going on with their research and whatnot, please follow along. These are 3 women who are going to be leaders in the future from everything that I have witnessed from them. Yeah, they're not pretending. They're not about the, I can't imagine that these 3 are chasing fame. I think that they're chasing solutions. And that's something that we should all be aspiring to. So one last thing to do, my wonderful, wonderful friends. Will you sign us off for this series?
Sure.
Peace,
love,
and peanut butter.
Have an amazing rest of your day, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you. Bye.
This episode is part of a 5-part series produced by Mapper Forward. Check the full playlist and guest details in the show notes, as well as how you can support our work in the coffee industry. Become a premium YouTube subscriber, explore our Patreon and any brands we've partnered with to bring you this podcast. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It really does help us grow our audience.